Boxing is a sport that requires hard work and dedication. The way to the top is lonely, not a way of living for a person that is not committed to it. Cheating in a sport to be in the top 1% is something quite old. But to cheat in a sport like boxing, where every fighter is putting their lives on the line to win, is unacceptable.
Blinded. This is how crooked the game was. He blinded Ali.
Yeah.
Cassius Clay. So Liston wasn't above,
cheating.
Today, we will be seeing the biggest cheater in boxing, a guy that could easily have murdered his opponents, and that guy is none other than Antonio Margarito. Stay with us, and we'll walk you through Margarito's biggest cheatings and scandals, and of course, the day he got punished.
And really beat them up, and they were like, it didn't even make sense how hard he was hitting me. Because he would put plaster of Paris, apparently, inside the wraps.
This is Boxing Matrix. Enjoy this video. As a kid, Margarito saw his older brother box in the neighborhood gym and had quickly fallen in love with it. And after training from the age of 4, he got into the amateur ranks, in which he did not gain that much of experience, having a fighting record of only 18-3.
A la de 8 años a pelear amateur. Mi papá le gustaba el boxeo. Él me llevaba a funciones de box cuando yo estaba chiquito. Fue como me empezó a gustar. Mi papá me mencionó que si quería, que si me gustaría ser boxeador, y yo le dije que sí.
Many Mexican fighters start their professional careers very early. For example, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters at the moment, Canelo, was only 15 when he became a professional.
Pero ahorita miro a los jóvenes que tienen 15 años y yo digo, ay caray, a los 15 años yo me hice profesional porque pura gente mayor me tocaba de 25, 30, 32 años.
The same could be said for Margarito, as he was in his 15th year of life and would go on to have a career full of ups and downs. He was just a welterweight like any other. He had wins and defeats during his first year and did not seem to be a pretty big deal. He had his first title shot in 2001 against a guy named Daniel Santos. Now, you might be wondering why we haven't said anything about cheating, since that's the main point of the video. Well, our story of Margarito has just started. His cheating, though, could have also started a bit after his first title shot. Let us explain. You see, Margarito's first title shot was dismissed in the first round, after a clash of heads that sent both of the fighters to nearby hospitals. Here is the footage.
Very clean. And then a countering straight right by Margarito. Gets banged in. But Santos and they do clash. And that's going to happen with the southpaw.
Izquierda. Margarito. Está cortado. No.
I think it's on Margarito. There's blood around the right eye of Margarito, who really looks ticked off right now. This is not what he had in mind in starting off this fight. Very upset. Then it starts off with a...
After that, Margarito was on the rise as a welterweight, knocking guys out. But not like any other fighter. He was brutalizing them. First, he wiped Antonio Diaz, then Andrew Lewis. At this point, Margarito considered going up in weight to try to learn Fernando Vargas, Oscar de la Hoya, or Shane Mosley into a lucrative fight, or Santos into a rematch at the light middleweight division.
En Antonio Margarito y eso me da gusto. Yo admiraba mucho a Julio César Chávez y sabía que cuando él ganaba, todos en Tijuana salían, les ponían a sus carros arriba Chávez, ganó Chávez y...
Margarito was making a name for himself. He was really in the top names in the 2000s era. He had proved everything in his division. It was now time for his biggest fight yet, Miguel Cotto. Cotto was one of the best, known for his toughness and willingness to fight until the end. This fight was Margarito's shot to continue a career full of big fights, potentially even a money fight with Floyd Mayweather. The build-up for this fight was nothing big. Now, the video starts. It is said that Margarito had plaster in his hand wraps in this fight. This was the pinnacle of his career. You later find out why we put this in the title. Margarito, traditionally a sluggish starter, anticipated to emerge swiftly, but it was Cotto who got to a more effective start by throwing numerous punches and applying plenty of movement.
Our opponents before.
landed his jab a couple of times and landed a good left hook. Now there's an uppercut from Margarito. First minute produces more of a boxing match than some expected. Both fighters have had some offensive moments, but putting space between the punches. Now the left uppercut from Margarito, and he steps in the corner and fires away. Good job slipping the right hand there. And another combination. Terrific left hooks by Cotto.
Cotto picked up where he left off in the second round, approaching directly at Margarito, though easily getting in harm's way once Margarito sought to counterpunch. That, nevertheless, changed approximately a minute into the round, as Margarito landed a right hand that momentarily had Cotto by the ropes.
To land repeated combinations.
He's such a good puncher, and Cotto has been on the canvas and rocked before.
See that? Now Margarito gets the spacing.
One, but Margarito is really putting a lot of pressure on him, unlike any he's ever had. And pressure from a taller fighter is different than from a shorter fighter.
And Margarito landed an excellent right hand about 10 seconds.
Margarito hammering Cotto mark in terms of drawn blood. And the Mexican fans in the crowd love that.
Margarito closed the gap sufficiently in the fourth round by landing a right uppercut and attacking Cotto's body to slow him down.
Can he sustain this pace for 12 rounds? Margarito's putting a lot of pressure on him. And Margarito's defense is a lot better than the public is giving credit for. Throwing a lot of punches from different angles.
And just the psychological pressure Margarito exerts by
walking through Cotto's best firepower.
Well, most who favored Cotto favored him on point.
Body shots by Antonio. Cotto may regret having stopped in a corner, but now he comes back with a hard right hand and a left hook and an uppercut.
A left hook to the body had Cotto on the defensive early in the seventh round, but he was able to fend off additional difficulty. A right hand from Cotto slowed Margarito, but he returned with punches that forced Cotto to clinch.
Margarito don't have a chance.
Certainly Margarito, Emmanuel, as you mentioned, changed the momentum in the last round.
The momentum is today is going to Margarito, even though he may be losing the fight.
Where I feel that Margarito is fighting on even terms with Cotto.
So even if I would be in Cotto's corner, I would be
Cotto's hurt, guys.
Cotto's badly hurt. It's that amazing Margarito beard that's putting a lot of pressure on Miguel Cotto. Miguel just can't hurt him.
Jim, this is exactly the way.
In the ninth round, with Cotto going back and forth between southpaw and conventional stance, Margarito continued charging ahead, although Cotto would counterpunch sufficiently to avoid Margarito.
You can't run out the clock against Antonio Margarito.
And even as Cotto does what he just did, which was land a series of unanswered punches.
Fired away with a bunch of punches again.
And the next stop from Miller Road is to the floor. It's the next place he'll be sitting at if he don't do something the same.
Nothing big in the last round, and hasn't landed anything big so far in all the mental impressions augur in favor of the Mexican star. Now Margarito starts to land again. Cotto ducking and slipping and firing back.
Halfway through the 11th round, a left uppercut by Margarito left Cotto vulnerable as he took a knee after Margarito landed a right uppercut and two right hands. Cotto managed to get up, but he went down again. Despite Margarito not landing another punch, the referee moved in to count. But Evangelista Cotto, Cotto's trainer and uncle, climbed onto the ring apron and threw in the towel.
Little Margarito short shots on the inside now, Emmanuel.
Oh, yeah.
And Cotto goes to a knee. So finally gotten his man to bend. Miguel Cotto getting beaten up by a bigger man.
It's over.
And Evangelista Cotto's going to throw in the towel. And Antonio Margarito has the victory he's been waiting for all his life.
Following the victory, Margarito became the Ring magazine's #1 ranked boxer in the welterweight division, and he replaced Cotto in the rankings as the #6 ranked boxer in the world, pound for pound. Margarito seemed like a pretty destructive fighter. The bruises and cuts on Cotto's face were something new for the boxing world. Now that he had dominated the ranks, it was time for his downfall. The time where he would get exposed. Shane Mosley versus Antonio Margarito. Mosley's trainer, Nazim Richardson, observed that Margarito had a pasty white substance in his hand wraps. One doctor described this material as plaster hidden in the wrapped hands of Margarito, leading to accusations that he may have been trying to cheat. According to the attorney for Mosley, Margarito had wet pads in the wrapping. Mosley's doctor likened the material to the type of plaster used to make casts. It was now obvious that Margarito had been cheating before, and it was sure that the beating of Cotto was something that had to do with the material in his hands. Mosley had now every reason to destroy him. Mosley looked like he had plenty of pep early on as he took the fight to the champ. He landed some nice shots to the body and tied up. Mosley was digging in with some uppercuts, and there was some wrestling.
Well, meanwhile, we got a fight going on in there, and the one who's landing loaded gloves so far in the first round is Shane Mosley, notoriously slow starter. Excuse me, Larry.
One of the most important punches that Mosley has thrown have been 2 body shots.
He finished up winning the last part of those 2 rounds. So this should be
Good left
interesting.
hook by Mosley. If Antonio Margarito only throws 64 punches in a round,
But one thing that Margarito cannot afford to do is get really too far out.
Round 4 opened with jabs from both fighters. Shane locks up to avoid Tony's shots along the ropes. Margarito lands a nice uppercut, but Mosley is clinching whenever he can. Mosley was consistently jabbing, and Margarito was trying to cover to block the follow-ups.
greatest chin I've ever seen in reference to Margarito's ability to take. Good left hook by Margarito. Removed an illegal implement from inside Antonio Margarito's.
Got to beat now going down the stretch.
Swim without getting wet.
I have no idea.
I think he just means punch, but don't stay in there to get
Because he had pressure.
By brilliant strategy on the part of Shane Mosley, who is changing from round to round, making little adjustments here and there, and still controlling the fight.
In the 7th round, both fighters scored left hands along the ropes. Margarito showed a nice flurry and came forward for his best offense in a while.
To the fight with Cotto.
Well, you know,
Margarito after that left hook.
the math begins to look very forbidding for Antonio Margarito.
I agree, Jim. Margarito's on the verge of losing the championship.
Exemplary impact, and you saw that Harold Letterman's card has Mosley winning every round.
Got to be able to hit them with some serious stuff.
And finally, a cheater gets what he deserves. Mosley was landing some mean shots when the ref stepped in just as Tony went down again, and it was all over.
This man, and the way that he's beating him right now.
Margarito has no defense at all for punches.
This fight could be stopped any second now. Margarito is getting hit flush with every right hand. There's another one. There's a big left hook. Why not stop it now? And there's the white towel from the corner, and Shane Mosley has annihilated Antonio Margarito.
Can that man fight?
How much more beating could a person get? He was exposed for his dirty trick of putting plaster in the pads in his hands and had been whooped in the same day. His downfall doesn't end here. Cotto, the fighter whom he had previously beaten in a brutal manner, was back to deliver one of the most satisfying rematches to this day.
It's just Gus. The Gus doesn't get break.
Pero te la agrando y te la pongo más grande, mira.
No hay nada. Y si, o sea, entonces, ¿por qué? ¿Qué es lo que quieres? ¿No pelear o qué? Porque
No,
la pelea no hay nada.
No, yo
está
firmé la pelea.
limpio, por eso.
Lo único es que yo he cargado mi derrota como un hombre.
No te preocupes,
Todavía.
por eso. Así lo tienes que sostener.
Sí,
Yo
mira,
te gané
no,
bien.
mira.
Yo te gané bien.
¿Eso no está roto ahí?
¿Cuál roto? Esa es una foto. Mira los vendajes. Los vendajes se los llevaron.
Say what you want about the loaded gloves controversy, but this fight was fair. And in the fight not surrounded by controversy, Miguel Cotto emerged victorious. He fought hard, and he took advantage of Antonio Margarito's eye issue. He went after the eye from the beginning, and it eventually led to the fight ending. In what looked like it was going to be a long match, Cotto was constantly jabbing at Margarito before eventually wearing him out. We'll just let you see this masterpiece for yourself.
Puerto Ricans come to their feet as Cotto hammers Margarito with another left to the eye.
No golpe. Hembra.
We're 3/4 of the way through.
Does that stop it? Sorry, said to stop it.
It's over. It's over, and revenge is sweet.
And when you thought Margarito's fate couldn't get any worse, he faced Manny Pacquiao. The beating he got from this fight was from another world. To this day, people talk about how much of a mess his face was after taking some serious punches from Pac-Man. Pacquiao was in control for the majority of the fight. Around the 5th or 6th rounds, the arena seemed in shock at the body attack Pacquiao was taking. Manny would always fire back, showing his true warrior spirit.
Every pound he adds is better for us. Well, of course, since Manny's a southpaw, it wasn't a left hook to the body, it's a left cross, but the bottom
Margarito staggered.
lands in the same place. Straight left-hand shots for Pacquiao, stack angles.
Create angle, because
There's no way Margarito can find him.
No.
No way Margarito finds him when he does that. That was most impressive. He said easy, the footwork. I've never seen any athlete in any sport.
Very people realize that his footwork is phenomenal.
Now Margarito catches Pacquiao twice.
Throughout the fight, Pacquiao would land amazingly sharp punches and stagger Margarito. Pacquiao was smart not to stand in more than he needed to. Standing at 5'11", Margarito had a very big advantage in size and weight. But the smaller Pacquiao's speed and accuracy was too much for the Mexican fighter to handle.
Known as an accurate puncher. Floyd Mayweather's watching this thinking, maybe the time is right to fight this guy. Until he felt the time was right. He noticed Hagler slow down, then he took the fight.
That's hard to say because he's fighting such different guys big. Pacquiao, the cultural icon. Manny Pacquiao, the citizen of the world. That's the man.
Margarito took a severe beating that night, which saw him sustain a fractured orbital bone on his right eye. Pacquiao won a very wide 12-round unanimous decision. The injury to his eye would affect him for the rest of his career, as Margarito required several surgeries and was forced to retire from boxing for 4 years, before a failed comeback that saw him walk away for good in 2017 after 3 fights. This just shows how karma works in boxing. What goes around comes around. Margarito had filled his wraps with plaster and was brutally damaging the skulls of his opponents until he was met with disasters twice as big. Moral of the story: do not try and go for shortcuts. Enjoy the process.
No, and then let's tell the world. I mean, I side with you on this. Ultimately. No. I'm not really, And then come to find out, ladies and gentlemen, this guy was cheating. He was fighting with a cast inside his glove. This is a guy that you was behind, that you thought I was scared of. And then you know what happened? When they caught him cheating in the locker room, he got knocked out by Shane Mosley.
He was never the same.
That same night. And then Shane Mosley's next fight, I beat him.
This is Boxing Matrix. Thank you for watching.